Okay, so before we even move forward, before we touch our application and start putting everything together, there is, of course, an API that we are going to be using to get the weather data. Now, most APIs, I should say, they require us to have an API key, because you have to remember that all of this information that we are getting, it's not necessarily free in most cases. Of course, there are servers out there or APIs that allow us to do it all for free, but most of them are not, especially when it comes to data that is important, such as temperature, weather, and forecast, and so forth. However, this API here from Open Weather App, I'll have this link for you, openweathermap.org, that is the website. They give us free calls, which means they allow us to tap into their API and get information that we want for free. There are limitations. So if we go to, again, openweathermap.org and you go to API, you'll see here, this is their API. There's a lot of places you can go. There's historical data, there's 5-day to 3-hour forecast, and so forth. Now let's go to this current weather API, say API doc. And you can see there is a lot of things, but what I'm looking for is actually the pricing. Let's go to price here so that I can give you an idea of what is it that we're talking about if this is your first time. Okay, so you can see on this table here, it says free. For free, you can get API key, which we'll talk about in a second here, but the calls per minute, if we do for free, is 60. What is a call? A call is any time that your application calls or sends a request to their database, their API. And they have to respond to that request. So each minute we only have 60 if we go for free. So in the past, I would actually share my API with students, and we ended up running into a lot of issues because some students would take that API, would take the application that we built using that API key or ID and put that in the App Store or Google Play Store, and then we would run into issues on our end, meaning they would end up shutting us down and wanting us to pay. That's the reason why it's very important that you create your own API to follow along in the upcoming lectures where we're building this Klimatic weather app. Of course, you don't need, if you feel like you want to buy $40 a month, you can do that, and you'll have the 600 calls per minute. If you want more, you can keep going, as you can see here. But for us, 60, this free one will do. Now, in order to get our API key, which is the key that allows us or makes it so that whenever we make the calls, we do the requests, right? The HTTP requests to get data. The system, their system will know who you are, per se. At least they will have a way to track you. Okay, so that you don't exceed and so forth. Because again, this is still a business, so they need to make money as well, and that's commandable. Okay, so to get an API key, just click here, and you will have to create an account or sign up. It's very easy, nothing really big. Say sign up. It will take you to the screen to sign up, where you put your username, email, password, and so forth. So it's very easy. You do that and you create account. Okay, once you create account, you should have your API key, the key that you're going to be able to use to make the calls. All right, so here's what you need to do. Go through this process. You'll get that API key, which is going to be a string of very random numbers and letters all mixed together. And keep that, copy that, and put somewhere safe. You can always come back and log in and find it, but it's always nice to have it somewhere safe on your computer so that you can use that when you're ready. You can use that key in order to make the calls, API calls, that is. Take a moment and do that. So once you have that, well, let's go back to weather here so you can take a look at a certain thing. So there's a lot of information. We want to go to API, back to API. And what we're really interested in really is this API doc. So click on that. And it says, please remember that all examples of API calls that listed are just samples and do not have any connection to the real API. So this is very important, okay? So one of the things you can do is you can see they even tell you how to do all the API calls. So you said you copy this and you put append a city, and then it will return the JSON that you want. So here's an example. I'm going to go ahead and right click. And new tab here, and you can see that's an example. Now, this doesn't look quite good. That's because I'm under incognito here. But let me say new window. I'm gonna copy all of this, put in that new window so we can take a look. There we go. Now I'm not in incognito. This is a simple API call, right? So it has this object or map per se, and we have chord, weather, and gives us description of what's going on, gives us description of the weather, and there's so many things. But we are interested in getting the temperature, maybe pressure, humidity, minimum temperature, and max. Okay, and so this is the JSON that we are going to rely on to create our Klimatic application. And of course, there's no need for you to memorize anything right now. I just wanted to give you heads up so you know where we're going. But this is indeed what we are going to be using. So the next time you see me, I hope you would have Signup and you'll have your API ID ready for us to use. Okay, perfect. I'll see you in the next video.